I want to touch on your healing journey through having eczema severely.
Basically, this infection was so extreme, it just went all over my body. On the last day of LA, I was literally at Neo's studio. You know Neo, the R&B, famous R&B singer. Yeah, like that's whose studio I was recording in that last week. Where I had a car crash on the way to the first session that I did. On the day that he was like, yo, I want to write an album with you, like literally had a car crash on the way there. It was really extreme. The night before, the steroid cream couldn't hold it down anymore. My whole face was like completely swollen and had broken out in this rash. My eczema got infected. I went to the doctors and they just kept saying, you're going to have to take more steroids and antibiotics. This is really extreme. You could die of sepsis and all of this, you know, putting all the fear in me. I was just like, I can't keep taking these drugs. And I was also looking into steroid withdrawal at that time and just knowing how bad it is for you and how it just keeps you in a horrible cycle. At the same time, I was recording in Amsterdam with the producer, doing shows, meetings with Sony, and I was having this severe breakout in my skin. I was always doing my music, always writing. That was always my channel, doing shows, I was touring. But I used to go through bouts of depression when I'd drink and stuff. I could drink a lot. Afterwards, I would have such a come down and it would take me to like such a dark place that it would affect me for like weeks on end. And I got into this spiral of like I'm holding myself back with my purpose, with my music, but then drinking again and doing it all again. And the same with relationships. I was like stuck in these spirals. I just made a promise to myself that I just wouldn't go back to who I was, because I knew that I couldn't fulfill my life's purpose and I knew I couldn't attract healthy relationships that I desire as the person that I was. I got signed in LA to a big deal with a massive producer and Sony was involved. All the songs were being written for me, and as much as I'm so grateful for that opportunity, it just didn't sit right because I wasn't able to be my authentic self. I wasn't able to express the music that I really want to express. So when everything fell away, I sort of started from scratch again, but it was just me, you know?
Hey, beautiful soul. Yes, you. You are beautiful, whether you identify as female, male, trans, alien, fairy, witch, daughter, son, mum, dad, sister, brother, grandpa, grandma. You are beautiful, and don't you ever forget to be you to the full. Thank you so much for stopping by and clicking on this episode. It has called you for a reason, and that is because it matches your frequency and your vibration, and there is a message in it for you. Before every episode, I sit in meditation and I ask for those who are meant to benefit from my conversations be guided to it. Now, if you resonate with this episode, please subscribe, like, and comment below. And even better, share this with another being. Now, when we share our information, we can help to bring consciousness to as many beings as possible. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for spending your time here and working on yourself to find out who you are so that you can help others shine their light just as much as yours. Now let's dive into this week's episode.
Hey, it's Melissa, and welcome back to the Purpose Search podcast, where I discuss all things science, spirituality, and purpose. If you're new here today, thank you so much for clicking on this episode. I hold conversations with people who have life-changing stories, who are incredibly knowledgeable in their field and aligned with their purpose, which I hope will spark something inside of you to listen to the call of your heart and intuition. Today's guest is Jessica Wilde, a South London singer, songwriter, rapper, and producer whose music blends raw spoken word and rap with powerful, soul-stirring vocals. Her deeply personal songs explore themes of healing, self-love, sobriety, and empowerment, taking listeners on a journey from struggle to transformation. Jessica has shared stages from Glastonbury to Ronnie Scott's and collaborated with artists including Emily Sandé and Rudimental. Welcome, Jess. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
It's so exciting. I cannot wait to dive into your story and how you got to what you're doing now, the healing journey and all of that. So I'm really excited to dive into that. But just before we do that, I would like to start with a short breath exercise. So every episode, I start with this to drop us into the body and get present with the conversation as we come onto screen or we're listening through our ears. So please do not do this if you're driving, but I invite you to close your eyes or take a soft gaze in front of you if that feels more comfortable. And today we're going to focus on the sea. Imagine that you are in some beautiful sand and you can feel it between your toes. You can feel the wind, the gentle breeze on your body and your face, going through your hair. You can smell the salt coming off the sea. You can hear the waves crashing. You can feel the sun on your skin. Just taking in all of the sounds, what you can see, what you can hear. And you take some of this sand into your hands and you can feel it through your fingertips. Taking a deep breath into your body. Focusing on those waves and the sounds. The wind gently breezing through your face and your hair. Taking another deep breath in and let it out. We'll take 3 more breaths together. Deep breath in and out. One more breath, take it in and let it out. And this time on the last in breath, imagining softening the body even more, taking a deep breath in and soften the body. And when you're ready, bring the attention to your fingers and your toes and coming back to screen and listening through your ears. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Jess, we have got some really cool stuff to talk about today because you have a really exciting story of healing. And this is something that I just did not know this about you the first time I met you. I had no idea. And it just is so important, I think, for us to realize this, that people go through a lot of things and we have no idea what people are battling with, having challenges with on a day-to-day basis. And it's your story is a really incredible one. And I'd love to touch on that in just a moment. The first thing I like to ask my guests, though, is actually something completely different. It's what lights you up and sparks joy in you? Because I hate that dreaded question of what do you do? All of that.
Definitely good music, dancing, singing, hanging out with my girls. Yeah, I have so many beautiful women around me, and yeah, just very grateful for that. But yeah, dancing, singing, and things that create pleasure in my body, yeah, is what I like.
And I love that, this is something that just sparks joy and lights you up so much. And now this is like part of your purpose and why you're here and what you bring to the world and all of this through music. And I've experienced a lot of this, which I've had so much fun in your presence with your music and listening to you sing and just letting those codes come through my body. So I love that you love that, and that's what you emanate, and you light up the room, like being you, which is what I believe we are all here to do. We're all here to be, and you just do that so beautifully. So thank you for being you.
Thank you.
I want to touch on your star sign and your human design because this is a fascination of mine, which I dive into with all my guests. So could you tell us your star signs first?
Yeah, so I'm Aquarius sun, Leo moon, and Gemini rising.
Yeah. Do you resonate with these? Like, how does this show up for you in your life? Do you know much about it?
Yeah, I definitely resonate. Like, I'm not an expert, but I know quite a bit. Just, my mum was very into astrology. And yeah, obviously being part of the kind of being surrounded by a lot of people who are more spiritually connected, it does tend to come up.
Mm.
But yeah, definitely. Yeah, I relate to all three signs. Yeah, I guess like Aquarius people, I see it as people who are a bit more out of the box. They're quite like visionary. Yeah, more, what's the word? Um, like, like into like philanthropy. Oh my God, how do you say that?
I'm not even gonna
Like they're
try
quite
that.
innovative,
Yeah.
yeah, and like, big visions, not usually, not usually in the box. They're quite like driven, but also it's air, so they're kind of like, a bit up in the clouds as well. I guess that's where like the big vision comes from. And then Leo is like, all about being in the spotlight and like, glowing and loving attention and kind of shining in that way. And then Gemini is a lot, about communication and expression, as well as like kind of being double-sided. So yeah, I guess that all three of them resonate with me
Mm.
together. I also
Yeah.
have like 6 Capricorns in my chart though, which
Wow, you
I
have a
do
huge
see as
stellium
well.
there
Yeah.
then. Love that. Yeah, I have quite a few Capricorns
Yeah.
as well. That's so interesting. And I was learning a lot more about actually Capricorn energy, because Capricorn is my midhaven. Um, so yeah, it's an interesting one to dive into. But anyway, I want to talk about your human design because this is this is
Yeah.
also a huge fascination of mine. And you're a projector 1-3, splenic authority, which is the same as me. I love finding people. I don't think I've met a projector 1-3 splenic, same as me yet. So this is
Wow,
cool
that's
for me.
crazy.
Yeah. And so it was interesting that you were saying about like visionary and all of this, because projectors are often seen as the ones who are the birds on the tree. We just had an episode with Fiona Bleetman, who's a human design expert, who's explaining all the 5 different types. And if you're new to human design, not astrology, if you're new to human design, a little explanation about it is that it's a modality to find kind of your life's purpose and your energetic blueprint of why you're brought here to Earth. There are 5 different types, and Jess and I are both projectors. And these types of people are here to, we're meant to rest a lot. We're only really meant to be working around 3 to 4 hours a day. But when we are in that spotlight doing and being what we're here to do, we are able to do that in such a really efficient way that it ripples out to the masses. And yeah, your life incarnation cross is the right angle cross of explanation 2, with the gates 49, 4, 43, and 23. And your life theme is to explain things in a way that gets people to take action, which I think is just like really synchronistic and beautiful with what you're here doing, sharing your music and explaining your healing and the transformation and all of that. And so it just fascinates me, the through line of the incarnation crosses with the guests that I'm having on. And yeah, how does that resonate with you anyway? That's just my opinion on it. Well, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I definitely think I've been called into a life where my own journey inspires others, and I feel called to kind of, it's naturally just come through in my music and the way I share and even the events I hold to, I guess, to inspire people to take action, really, to like live fuller lives,
And I want us to go back to the journey, really. Let's start there. Where did it start for you? because you've not always been, I mean, music has been a through line for your life, right? But there's been a big journey in that development of where you are to where you are now. So I'd love to go back to the start of like where it all, what your dreams were, before the kind of spiritual awakening and realizations, and yeah, tell us about that.
I mean, I guess I've been doing music like since I was really young. Like I started singing from like 6. My parents are both actors and my mum's also a jazz singer. So I grew up in just like that reality. My brother's a jungle MC and producer,
Nice.
produces a lot of drum and bass and MCs. Yeah. So yeah, I grew up in that world. And yeah, I guess like for many years I was kind of following the like pop star route, you know, wanting to go down that road. But I also acted. I like, yeah, toured in like I was part of like a theatre company called Hackney Harlem, which was like a hip hop theatre company, and we like toured and we wrote this show based on Shakespeare, and yeah, that was where it kind of all started. And then I got into more acting. I was writing albums from a teenager. But yeah, at the same time, I was drinking a lot from a young age. I was taking drugs from a young age. And yeah, I guess like my area where I grew up I grew up between like Brixton and Clapham, and it definitely had so much inspiration on my creativity, and like just like it's so diverse, like and yeah, it inspired a lot to do with my music. But also there was a kind of darker side where like, yeah, I maybe like got in with, you know, people who, yeah, just people who were, yeah, just struggling with life for many different reasons, you know, like, and
Going through their own challenges.
yeah, it led me into quite a few like situations when I was younger, and relationships that were like, yeah, quite toxic and abusive. And but at the same time, I was always doing my music. I was always writing. That was always like my channel. I was always doing shows. I was touring. I was doing all this stuff. But I always felt like I used to go through like bouts of depression when I'd drink and stuff, because I could drink a lot, right? And I wouldn't throw up or anything. I could just go like, and yeah, but then afterwards I would have such a come down, and it would take me to like such a dark place that it would affect me for like weeks on end, you know,
Wow.
afterwards. And I kind of got into this spiral of like feeling like I'm holding myself back with my purpose, with my music, but then drinking again and doing it all again. And the same with relationships. I was like stuck in these spirals. And then I started doing Muay Thai, kickboxing, Muay Thai.
Really?
At a gym around my area in Camberwell that my brother actually got me into.
Nice.
And it was like a ghetto gym, right? Like nearly all men, like smelly, but the Muay Thai class was really good. And like the guys there were lovely, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't anything fancy. Like,
I mean, it
the
was
guy who trained
rawness,
us,
wasn't it? It's like raw.
it was raw, yeah, it was raw. But the guy, yeah, so my brother got me into it, and the guy who trained us, he's like a world champion, Muay Thai fighter, and now he trains people. And yeah, I just started doing it, and I just absolutely loved it. And I think that was actually the beginning of me really connecting into my body, because I just remember I was just, I knew it was, I don't even remember not knowing how to do it. Like, I loved the punching. I didn't like the fighting, but I loved the training. I loved hitting the pads. So I ended up doing that for quite a few years. But at the same time, there was a yoga class going on upstairs with this guy, Felix Price, who's now quite well known in the spiritual community, him and his wife, Deanne. And at the time, he was doing these yoga classes for £5 in this gym. All the boys would like come from training and then they'd go up to yoga and they'd be like stretching and be like, oh, bruv, I can't even reach my toe. Like that was kind of like yoga. Yeah, it was just so like in my head, my vision of yoga was like really at that age. It was like yoga's uncool. It's, very posh. It's whatever. Like, when you're young, you have these ideas in your head. Of what's cool and what's not cool. I don't think like that now, obviously. But it just like opened my world to yoga in a whole different way. And suddenly like yoga was cool. Yoga was something that like, me and my brother and the guys around the area are coming to do. And then at the end, I remember like Felix would do a chant, right? He'd do like the oms at the end. And I remember the first time we did it, my brother, we like closed our eyes to do it and my brother just looked at me and he just gave me this little smirk and I just could not stop laughing. Like I just was like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
But it was the beginning of something. It was almost like I was meant to go there because what happened was obviously as I kept going, I didn't find the omming funny anymore. It just became like, this is what you do. And Felix, who led those classes, he was so like authentic and like from the area, and there was none of this like kind of over spiritual thing or anything. It just was spiritual because it is yoga, and also we're just all there connecting. There was nothing pretentious about it. It was what it was, and that was like my opening into spirituality. And I would say it was like God led me there because he did become like a mentor in many ways. And then his wife, Deanne, I began going to her like women's cacao ceremonies. And that was a whole other layer of healing because just being with women was like that really unlocked some deep things in me. And honestly, for it must have been about 7 years, I was starting to do this stuff, starting to awaken, starting to meditate, going to these things. I started doing ayahuasca, things like this. But at the same time, I was still battling with alcohol and drugs and, relationships that, weren't good for me. So it went on for quite a while. And then, after a trip actually to the Amazon jungle, just coming into 2020, it was like the final thing. And then I just never drank again. And I just made a promise to myself that I just wouldn't go back to who I was, because I knew that I couldn't fulfill my life's purpose. And I knew I couldn't attract healthy relationships that I desire as the person that I was. And it was like everything just fell away. I got signed in LA to a big deal with a massive producer, and Sony was involved as well. This happened just before. And again, it was like all the songs were being written for me. And as much as I'm so grateful for that opportunity and everything it gave to me, it just didn't sit right because I wasn't able to be my authentic self. I wasn't able to express the music that I really want to express. So when everything fell away, I also sort of started from scratch again, but it was just me,
What did that feel like when you were signed by this huge label and you were, doing what you thought you loved, singing? And what did that feel like for you in your body? Because I relate to that a lot. I was in the West End. I feel like I explain it as like I was in the spotlight. But actually at the time when I look back at it, it's like there was this huge shadow behind me. And if I feel of what I felt in my body at the time I felt this, it's like my mind was saying that you should be grateful to be here. There's so many people that are dying and desperate to be in the West End. But my body was just like rejecting the experience almost. And like, there was a moment one time where I was on that stage. I just really didn't want to be there. And I was trying so hard to like be what I should be in this world. And one of the one of the people who was working there at the time came up to me and was like, "You look like you didn't want to be on stage." And I said, "That's because I was truthful." I said, "That's because I really don't want to be here right now." And she said to me, "Well, then you need to speak up and say this." And I just remember my body just doing this. Like, I didn't feel supported. I didn't feel like this feeling of support. Whereas I'm so grateful for that time. But what it taught me was that, like, if I really listened to my body was like screaming to get out of there at that specific moment in my life.
What if your team's biggest breakthrough came from within? At InnerVox, we create tailored workshops for corporate companies that unlock confidence, communication, and collaboration. We're not your typical training. Our workshops are dynamic, experiential, laughter-filled, and designed to create lasting transformation. We use creative techniques, performance psychology, and real human connection. We help your people build trust and express themselves and perform at their absolute best by listening to their intuition and their inner voice. Because when your people grow, your business also grows. Visit innervox.co.uk/corporate today and click the link in the description below.
So what was that like for you in that moment when you were signed by this label and you were feeling, like inside you were like, you wanted to speak and sing your truth and in an authentic way, but how did that feel for you in your body?
Yeah, I think it was like an inner battle, like just like you were saying, like it was like, oh, I've got this huge opportunity. I literally went to LA. I was only meant to be there for 2 weeks. I ended up there for 3 months. I got signed. It was like the American dream that everyone wants when they go to LA, right? And yeah, but it's that, that's it. Your body, it's just like when something isn't aligned. And I just felt like not being able, just being seen as like a voice and having people like project their vision onto me and kind of put me in this package, you know, yeah, it just didn't, it just did not sit right with me. But I stayed in it for 5 years. I was in that deal.
Wow.
Yeah, and I did a lot. Like I did tour, I worked with some incredible people. It did up level me in many ways, like working with that producer, like he's incredible. Like he's Grammy Award winning, like he's done ridiculous stuff and he's a genius. I would never change working with him because I have the utmost respect for him. But funnily enough, after I left that deal, well, I got dropped, which I was kind of praying for. Not even kind of, I was praying for. He actually heard my newer music where I'd started rapping, doing spoken word again. I was really like telling my story and he actually loved my stuff. And he reached out to me and said that. But yeah, like, as I say, like the songs were amazing, but they just weren't me. They just were not me. Like, it wasn't, as I say, like, it's like my calling in life is like to share authentically and to connect with people in a deeper way with my music. Like it's like every time I've tried to go the route of like just chasing the industry or wanting clout and fame and these things, like I just get blocked.
Yeah.
Like I have to have like, and it's not that I don't want to reach loads of people, I do, but I just know for me, like it has to have this kind of deeper thing propelling it.
The truth.
So yeah, and that's what happened. Like after I got dropped, I just rebuilt my whole brand and team and, started doing events and Pussy Power and all of these things. And really, yeah, I've kind of restarted over the last 5 years.
Yeah, I love that. I want to touch on it as well with your healing journey through having eczema severely through this time as well, and how the healing journey kind of came about for you, how you overcame this, because it's a really powerful story that I think a lot of listeners would benefit from. There's a lot of people I know that really suffer severely from eczema, and just having somebody who's been through that and completely like, you're glowing now, like you are like beautifully glowing, and your skin emanates this radiance, which I feel is coming from this purpose, from this sharing, from the truth. I would love to touch on how what that journey was and what that looked like for you at the time and now.
So yeah, during the time of actually, so I kind of started to say having an awakening, right? From like I say it was like a couple years before I then went to LA. Because I think LA was part of this next phase of my life. It was like, I needed that, right? To like up level, to like be seen more. But I remember so I'd always had bits of eczema since I was young, since I was 2. I used to get it on my palms and my hands quite badly. But just before I went to LA, I remember it started breaking out all over my body all of a sudden. And I was using steroid creams because I was like, fuck, I'm going to LA. Like, so I remember I was using steroid creams the whole time I was in LA. And then on the last day of LA, I got signed a week before I left LA. I was literally at Neo's studio. You know Neo, like the R&B, famous R&B singer. Yeah, like that's whose studio I was recording in that last week. Where I had a car crash on the way to the first session that I did. On the day that he was like, yo, I want to fuck with you. I want to write an album with you. Like literally had a car crash on the way there. It was really extreme, but I was fine. But yeah, got there. Anyway, that all happened. But then I remember, so on the last day I was in the studio, the night before, my face had started, it was like now the steroid cream couldn't hold it down anymore. And my face had started coming up and my eyes had started swelling up. And then and then basically by the time I got back to London, my brother came to pick me up. My whole face was like completely swollen and had broken out in this rash. And then I came back to London and then it just, it went on from there. I can't even remember what I did at that point, but basically then I got this infection. My eczema got infected with this really extreme, horrible thing. And I went to the doctors and they just kept saying you're going to have to take more steroids and antibiotics. They were like, this is really extreme. Like you could die of sepsis and all of this, putting all the fear in me. And I was just like, I can't keep taking these drugs. Like there's no fucking way. And I was also looking into steroid withdrawal at that time and just knowing how bad it is for you and how it just keeps you in a horrible cycle whilst fucking up your immune system. So yeah, at the same time I was now recording in Amsterdam with the producer. I was doing shows. I was meetings with Sony. And at the same time, I was having this severe breakout in my skin.
Yeah.
And basically this infection was so extreme. It just went all over my body. And it was just like godsend. I met 2 women. Well, I met this one woman actually who I went to this meditation session that my mum was like, oh, go to this meditation thing. Another actor who was in her show was saying she goes, and my mum had known that I'd started to get into that kind of stuff. And she was like, you should go. Because I was really in my head at the time. And I went and there was a woman there. And I just remember her talking at the end, saying about she's a chiropractor or something. And I thought, because I was having issues with my neck, right? So I was like, I should chat to her. Anyway, I didn't get a chance to chat to her, but then basically this thing started breaking out on my skin and I had a fever as well, with the infection. I was very sick as well as the rash. And I had to go home from work. But basically, she came into my workplace
Wow.
And just by complete coincidence, and it turns out she wasn't just a chiropractor, she's also a functional doctor, which is all about the gut.
Wow.
And just so aligned with my
Yeah.
skin breaking out. I bumped her and was like, oh my God, that's so weird that I saw you. I was thinking, God, I must talk to that woman. And I didn't get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, her and my next door neighbor, who is like 70 and is like a witch, she works with Chinese medicine, she works with energy work. She treated me every single day for this infection with essential oils, with energy healing. She almost did like therapy with me as well. We just talked through so much. And Dee helped me with the gut stuff. So basically I had to like fast on bone broth for like months. And yeah, and at the same time I was flying to Amsterdam with like fever, covered in these sores. I was literally wearing like gloves, like covering up my body heads, because at this time my face didn't have anything, which was so lucky, but my whole body was covered. And yeah, I had to go to Amsterdam, and I just basically tried to, well, they knew something was up because I was like limping because my leg was so swollen, but I just pushed through, like did these shows, and I basically just drank bone broth and this green smoothie. And Dee just like helped me through, like even if I was struggling and I was like, fuck, I can't do this, she'll be like, you can do it. Because as soon as you take antibiotics and stuff, you kind of like reverse the natural healing more. So it's like, yeah, so
you have to go through it.
I just like I just had to push through, you know. But it was scary because, yeah, like it was very extreme, like to look at. And obviously, you know, my mum and stuff, and the doctor saying you might die if you know, don't take these drugs. But yeah, I pushed through, and it took me about, you know, 6 months of like really, like I was doing Wim Hof, I was meditating, I was fucking listening to Joe Dispenza. I was like
reprogramming
everything, like
yes,
reprogramming my brain, and also doing and fasting. And yeah, just happened to have some incredible women around me, including my mum. Actually, she came to Amsterdam with me the second time I went. I was like, because I went the first time and I was like so fucked. I was like, I cannot do that again, because I had to do all the stuff myself, and it was just like, yeah, with a fever. The day I got there, I was in the studio for 16 hours.
Wow.
And like covered head to toe in these clothes, and like then had to go back at night to my room and like do all this, you know, put all this stuff on my skin and everything. And I wasn't eating. I was just, you know, just drinking bone broth in this green smoothie. So yeah, it was intense, but that was it. It was just like, it's this or it's, there was just no other choice at that point, you know. Otherwise you're just staying in this loop. It was like breaking these patterns. But it really, yeah, it really, really forced me to look at myself and to really change my life in so many ways. So yeah, it was a very, very transformative period that now I'm thankful for, even though at the time it was like hell. Yeah.
How did you get through those moments when you were like deep within the darkness of it all? Like, did you write through all of that and use that as your kind of antidote? Because I can't even imagine like the impact of how that could feel on you inside. Like, it to me, what it looks like is like you're like purging this from inside out, and it's coming out, and you're like almost purging. But it's also like, you know, you were saying like doing the Wim Hof activations and breath work and meditations, and like reprogramming your brain with Joe Dispenza and all this, the truth basically. Like we are taking an almost like an energetic barrier to everyone, and like doctors' fears and all of this conditioning that we think is how we should think, or we must believe them because they're in a white coat, or, you know. How did you, in that moment, like in those moments where you were deep in the depths of it all, like you said, asking your mum for help, like how did you get through it?
Yeah, I think it was just like, I just knew it was the only way. I just knew deep down it was like, the only way is through. And don't get me wrong, yeah, as I say, like Dee and Anna were like, you know, they were rocks for me, and my mum. Although my mom did have moments of like a bit of fear and like, maybe you should just take the antibiotics. But then she was like, no, it's all right. And she did really support me. Yeah, I think having a support network was massive. Yeah. My family and these two women was, because I remember there was one point in Amsterdam I like went to the toilet and I was like crying and I phoned Dee and she would just answer the phone whenever. If I ever messaged her, I wasn't even paying her. I wasn't even paying her. Like, her stuff costs a lot. This was years ago now though, but she was I think she just graduated though. So it was almost like she got thrown into like this test thing with this really extreme thing. She got like thrown right in the deep end. But I give it to her, she was very courageous because she could have easily panicked and been like, shit, no, I don't want to be, because she would have felt responsible. But every time I was like, I'm going to take the antibiotics because I can't do it anymore. Because when I take the antibiotics, it would disappear and then it would come back worse. But it would disappear for like a week, right? And then it would come back with a vengeance. So yeah, but she was always like, you can do this, basically. And Anna, my neighbor as well, was just like, you got this, you can do this. Like,
wow, that's so fascinating because it was just you saying that about how it would disappear for a week and then come back with a vengeance. Just takes me back to I don't think you know this about me, but I studied microbiology at university. So I actually saw in the Petri dishes, I saw the circles of where the antibiotic would disappear, like magically make the bacteria disappear on the Petri dish. But surrounding it, there was still bacteria, and then it would just come back again. And so like hearing this is like really fascinating for me because like when you say it comes back with a vengeance, well, that's why it's well known that you shouldn't take antibiotics multiple times because the bacteria mutates and evolves to keep thriving and surviving within us. But this deep healing of just natural substance of how our body and our body has all the wisdom within us. It's so fascinating hearing you say, like, I just knew this was the only way. And now on the other side of it, the fact that like you now can say that with so much clarity and conviction and confidence because it is true. Like it was the only way. You've got out of that now. And yeah, do you have any flare-ups anymore? Like what is it like for you now?
Firstly, I was just going to say, like, I do think antibiotics and have their place, like when people are in extreme positions. Like even me, when I took it at the beginning, like I needed it for those moments to get me through certain situations, but I had gone too far that it wasn't even helping me anymore. Like, but obviously there's other times when I have had things happen and I've taken antibiotics and it has got rid of it and it's been a desperate situation. But I do think, but like you're saying, like, man, people take antibiotics just all the time, popping them like pills, and it's madness. Like, because the effect it has on your body is actually crazy. Like, it will make you way more sick in the long run, and it's just crazy that the health industry don't give, if you take antibiotics, like they should give a plan for like how to probiotic or, build back up your good gut health, so yeah, just to say, like, I'm not like anti everything, but yeah, this was what I went through, and now I can say, like, yeah, it did work, but it did take some, it took some commitment. But on the other side, you're gonna feel better than ever. So that's all I can say. But sorry, I just needed to say that disclaimer.
Yeah,
but so I get a tiny bit actually recently. I've had like the teeniest little bit. You can't even see it. Look, between my fingers. So I don't drink alcohol anymore. I eat predominantly whole foods. But if I do eat processed food, sometimes I will. Like now I'm a little bit more like every now and again I might have, I don't know, a pizza, or I would never get it for myself, but if I'm out somewhere or whatever, or a croissant. But if I eat it too much, I will get a little bit start to come up, and it's like all my eyes will go a little bit swollen, and I'm so like aware of my body now. Like even a little like swelling in the eye, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to go clean out my diet again.
Flush.
You know? Yeah. So yeah. So it's incredibly minimal now.
That's amazing. That's to me,
Yeah.
that is like a full-on
And
recovery.
I pray to God it stays like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even when I started to get this little bit, I was like, fuck it. I felt like it was since I'd shared my story online, and I was like, oh no, like now I've started talking about it, but I'm like, no, you're meant to talk about it. It's fine.
You're
It's not coming
meant to
back.
talk
Like
about this.
this is almost like a little reminder, just like make sure you stay on track,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it just nudges me, gives me that little nudge, like,
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Oh, thank you for sharing that
yeah.
story, because I think that's going to help a lot of people. And I want to touch on, your music journey now. So you're now writing such beautiful lyrics, and I love how you just went I pray, because we've got I pray out at the moment as well.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell us that journey of like you're writing your own music and how you came to that and finding your purpose in that way.
Yeah, I mean, I was writing like, as I say, like when I was young, I was really influenced by things that I had experienced around my area. Like we used to play out in the street, like when I was young. We would never be inside. Like I
Yeah,
was one of the
same.
ones on the cusp of, yeah, I was on the cusp of, social media and everything coming in. So I had quite a bit of time in my teens where we had none of that. We were just out, like, you know, getting into all kinds of trouble, but it was great. um, and yeah. So yeah, I was very inspired. Like I used to write raps and spoken word and songs about a lot of the things that I'd experienced. And then, yeah, and then, yeah, like I was doing that, and then obviously I got signed, and then suddenly, like I wasn't writing. I just lost connection, and then the stuff I was writing felt so far away from what was being written for me under Sony. It was like this pop soul singer over here, and then over here I was making these producing really weird, almost FKA Twigs kind of style beats, and rapping, and it was, yeah. And then, as I say, after I got dropped, I just started bringing back my spoken word, my rap and my singing, and just started basically writing about my journey, about my journey to sobriety. And I ended up, when I got dropped, actually, I realized I had like pretty much a whole album of songs. And there was a couple of guys that I hooked up with, this really amazing writer called Will Knox, and musician, who he heard one of my spoken words pieces, and he was just like, this is amazing. And Sony actually hooked me up with him, which was something great that they did, because I was signing my publishing with them. And yeah, he really encouraged me, Will Knox, to just like do this authentic sound. He was like, this is raw, like you need to do this, like this, it was giving like the streets and Miss Dynamite. But I was just writing like, almost like diaries. I would just write a song and all in one go, like just, about what I had gone through. And yeah, ended up doing a whole album called Sober, Wasted, Wasted, Sober, which came out, which was the first project I released after I got dropped from the, whole LA thing. And then I was starting again. So yeah, it was really just the beginning of me sharing something, I guess, a lot more authentic and about my journey. And I just noticed straight away as well, like even the way I was dressing, the styling, the everything, like I really went deep into like who I was and like what is my brand and my message. And like I really just like, I didn't just do it. I did like think about it a lot. I was like, who am I? Like, and yeah, I put together a really amazing team, and then I really felt like I was connecting to my audience way more, even with Sony and with money behind me and everything. Like, I just wasn't connecting. But as soon as I started doing my own thing, even though I didn't have the same kind of support from big companies, I was just connecting with people way deeper.
Yeah.
And people were finding me and being like, oh, you know, I went sober and I almost wanted to get a drink, and then I put on your song, fuck you, I'm sober now. And I was like, yeah, I can do this.
Yes.
Like, you know, and all sorts of things like this. Yeah. And these are now people who just still follow me and come to my events and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So yeah.
Do you know what was coming to me when you were saying that was that you're a projector. So that is literally classic. The way that we are meant to go in the world is to be invited, and we need to wait for the invitation, because if we're like pushing, we think that this is where we're meant to go, we get blocked. But if we just wait for the invitations to come, we shine our light, and then the right people that need to find it will find it. And that's just like a really beautiful example of one of the of how that beautifully works, is that you have people that, you know, you've helped through your experience and you've put that out there, and now it's being recognized and you're being seen, which is a big thing for projectors. So I love that. I love how that all connects. Thank you for sharing that story. I think that's so wonderful, and I'm so sure, like deep in my heart, that like your music will be found by the people that needs it and hear, and going through that journey. And you know, some of the lyrics that you have written are just so deeply like touching to the core, because it just emanates from your story. And I love listening to you sing, and how you sing as well. It's like deep into the body, which I love about you. So thank you for being you and sharing your light in that way. It's so beautiful. So I want to touch on a little bit about Pussy Power and some of the events that you do. I mean, I've been at one of your events, which has been really cool. Actually, a couple of times I've been in your presence and seen some of the stuff that you do. And it's been so transformational for me. Like, I didn't tell you this, but like that one workshop that we were in together, like I was coded with some light language in that workshop, and since then have been just getting a connection with that. And it's been really, really fascinating for me going through that journey. And I wanted to open the space for you to talk about that, what you kind of do in those sessions, in those events, and tell us about them.
Yeah, so again, when I got dropped and then I started writing my own music again, I also started a platform called Pussy Power, which was basically just after I went to it was lockdown by that point, and I went to an online workshop with this woman who runs a platform called Women in Control. And they were basically talking about the disparity between how much support female artists get from the industry compared to male artists. And it was like a lot less for women. So I ended up making this playlist, the Spotify playlist called Pussy Power, of all my favorite upcoming female artists.
Nice.
And then one thing led to another. I ended up buying this pink wig from Amazon, and I ended up starting this character called your girl Charlene. And during lockdown, I would do these kind of funny videos of her reacting to these songs and like and she's really like, oh my God, babe. And she wears like this pink wig and she smokes a biro. And basically, and she's like all about the pussy power. And again, like, you know, really like lifting people up and like passionate about music. And I started this IG live series during lockdown where I would called like Pussy Power. And I'd host it as Charlene, and then I'd have guests on who were featured on the playlist. So the first two guests I had were Zoe Capri and, oh God, I'm going to forget her name, but she's massive now. She said like number ones, and Zoe is also, she just did the O2 with Black Coffee. Like they're both just absolutely killing it. But yeah, basically it turned into this series and like hundreds of people would lock in. And then I would introduce myself and I'd go and whip the wig off and I'd come on and I'd sing as me on each one as well. But I ended up getting a residency at Hootenanny in Brixton. And I put forward the Pussy Power concept, and then basically it ended up being this show that like sold out multiple times. I had loads of really incredible established female artists come and sing. I would host it as Charlene, the character, then I'd sing as me.
Stunning.
It ended up with festival takeovers and a clothing line, and just all sorts of stuff happened off the back of it. Men would come to the events as well, by the way, and they absolutely loved it. It wasn't like spiritual, right? But it was, because it just had this energy of like, I don't know, it was just like this kind of electric feeling. Like I remember this guy came up to the front one time, like this older guy, and I was joking around, and like Charlene put her hand on his head and was like, the pussy power. You know, like as if you're in church, like getting initiated. But it was that kind of energy. I can't even explain it. Like people would just get so wild, like and the singers were incredible, and like it was so much fun. But I did that for like 3 years, and it just really organically kind of took off. But basically now it's kind of, I guess, through my healing journey, through my sort of passion for uplifting women, and I've now sort of stepped into also doing more like retreats, live music events. So collaborating with other women, like the one you came to, I did with Simran. I've also done, been doing one now with an amazing artist called Tahane. We've got a platform called Wildflower, and and it's like, you know, we share live music. So there's a live music, soulful live music section of it where we do just perform, but it's also like we do voice activation practices to help women bring through their own voice. I do like a DJ set, but there's like guided movement. There's like sharing circle, you know, as you say, like I think Simran did like light language activations with us in that one. So it's kind of turned into that as well now, and I'm going to be doing stuff in Bali and Philippines and Portugal. So just kind of excited to bring together all the things that I do into this, where it's like it's still a gig. Like there is a live music aspect where I'm still Jessica the artist, but then there's also and the DJ sets as well. Like I don't want it to be like over like woo-woo spiritual. Because I think for me, like I've always been a bit like one foot in, one foot out. Like because I just think life is spiritual, and everyone is like, and sometimes it is just that people need that extra, just like to reconnect with themselves, you know, and this is what this is about. So even the DJ sets are like, it's like a rave, you know, it's like play like all the kind of music that really gets you dancing. Like I love like Amapiano and Afro house and these kind of things. And I just wanted to show people as well that, you know, you can have a rave and you can get wild completely sober, like
100%.
And feel great the next day. So I'm kind of quite passionate about these kind of events now. So this is like a lot of my focus is going there.
I loved your DJ sets like that you do. Like they bring the vibration like and tenfold it. Like it's just it's wild. I love that, and it's like part of your name. Like you just bring the wildness out, and just this energy you uplift, and it's so beautiful I'm so grateful to have witnessed you in that setting, because it's such a super like beautiful space, and I think everyone should be in witness of that at some point. So I'm going to ask you actually, where can people find out more about you and all of this amazing work that you're putting on, that you're doing?
So Instagram and all of those. I don't really use Facebook that much anymore, but I should use it more. But TikTok and Instagram, I use quite a lot. Is I am Jessica Wilde, all one word. I am Jessica Wilde, Wilde with an E at the end. And then like Spotify, Apple, all of that is just Jessica Wilde, Wilde with an E. Same as YouTube. Like I have loads of, you know, music videos and lots of stuff that I post on YouTube as well. And my website is also I am Jessica Wilde. So yeah, but I post a lot on, I'd say Instagram is probably one of my main spots, and then you can find out how to get onto my mailing list and stuff like that through there.
And we'll put that all in the show notes so you can find Jessica there. And I just have a couple of questions that I ask all my guests at the end of our podcast. What's one piece of advice that you'd give someone who's lost and trying to find their purpose?
I think community is like so important. I think we're really in such an individualized society. Like if you live in London, especially places like that. And I think it's really unnatural and unhealthy to, like, for example, live in a 1-bedroom flat on your own, just go to like a 9 to 5, come home. Like, I can understand why people are, yeah, just like wanting to get completely fucked up on a Friday and like, like, um, so I think, yeah, I think community is like massive, but actually, like, it's like getting out to things where like in the city, it's like, for example, when I used to go to Muay Thai and then I started yoga and then I started going to these ceremony kind of spaces, like I didn't know what that was, but even when I went to that meditation group, like all of these things opened me up to a whole new world, and it broke me out of my kind of one vision, and I think just putting yourself in spaces though that really are about upliftment and self-development and expansion, because you're going to meet other people who are on that path, and I think that's so important to like have people around you, like even go to see live music. This is another reason why I do these events again. It's like, because coming together in that way, singing, dancing, like suddenly we don't need to go out on a Friday and completely self-sabotage ourselves because we're coming to like something like this, and it's like, oh, the reason why I wanted to dance and get wild is because that's in all of our spirit, It's like, but how do we do it in a way where it's like we're actually using it as the medicine that it is, like it's ancient, like it's in us, So I really think, yeah, just like coming together with people and dancing more. Singing, sometimes you're not in that place, but even just getting out, like even if it's like going to an AA group, if you drink and stuff, like it's really, those spaces are successful because it is a lot about community, and it's also about connecting to something bigger than yourself.
I love
So, yeah.
that. Thank you. That's so beautiful. And what's one takeaway that you want the listener to leave with?
Listen to your body. If you're working a job that is really not sitting right in your body and your spirit, like really take the time to just like break out of the cycle of just the mundane day to day, but feeling low and not feeling fulfilled. Take a moment to go to nature, take a moment to change something in your reality and actually sit with like, what do I want to do? Like, I think people say that like one of the things people regret the most when they're older or is that they didn't just do more of what they loved. It wasn't like, oh, I should have worked more, I should have spent more hours in the office. It was always like, I should have done more of what I love. And I think we're very like brainwashed to feel like we have to stick to this thing, but actually as soon as we start reprogramming our mind, we start getting opened up to endless possibilities. And I know because I have lived and I'm still living it, there's still so much I want to do, and I'm still working through blocks constantly, but definitely like the transformation is real, when you really
100%.
start
I love that.
changing your minds.
I was just like feeling really like warm and fuzzy when you were saying that because of our card that we pulled today. And you literally said the exact same thing, which was do something. It was dance with life.
Yes. Oh shit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
do something to
That's
change your
crazy.
energy, and you're like, that's the one takeaway. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I had to double check that. And we're like, that's what we pulled. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing your story and your voice, your wisdom. It's honestly been such a pleasure, like, talking to you today. And yeah, you've got so much knowledge from your past and your experiences that you've dealt with. And as you said, we're still going through these blockages. There will always be something that we're going to work through. And yeah, it's been such a pleasure. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, my love. Thank
It's
you for
been
having me.
wonderful. And thank you so much for listening. I really hope this helps you to shine bright. And if you did enjoy this episode, the best way to show your support, because it really does help the channel grow, is to like this video and share it with someone who you feel might need to hear it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that button and comment below your thoughts on this episode and share your voice. It's free, and I love reading and replying to all your comments. So I'm sending so much love. Until next time, see you in the next episode.